As salespeople, when we hear an objection, often it triggers an emotional reaction within us. And sometimes we want to argue with the client, or we want to use force of will or a force of nature and drive hard to convince them and turn their opinion around. Well, that's crazy. Hello, my name is Greg Story. I'm the president of Dale Carnegie Training here in Japan, broadcasting from Minato-ku today. The issue of objection handling is very critical for salespeople because not everyone's going to go for the offer exactly as we've outlined it. Key thing though is when we hear that objection, how do we react to that? If we get an emotional reaction and we start thinking about the 1,000 good reasons why they should go for this deal, we are probably getting off on the wrong foot. But this is often what happens. We go very quickly into answering the objection. Big mistake. First thing we need to do is give ourselves a little bit of thinking time. Think about a considered response to the objection the client has raised. Now, to buy ourselves some time, a very good thing to use is what we call a cushion. This is a little break between what we hear and what we say. Now, the cushion could be something very, very neutral, very vanilla sort of statement. They said it's too expensive. So we might say something like, well, yes, it's right. It's important that the budgeting for the company really be thought through. Now, no one's going to argue that the budgeting for a company should be thought through. It's not a type of statement that's going to get you in a massive argument. But in those 4, 5, 6 seconds that it takes us to say that, our brain can now switch gears and say, right, before I even attempt to answer this objection, I need to dig a bit deeper and I need to know the why of this is a problem for the client. So we need a breaker there between our emotional reaction when we hear something to before we start to speak. And we don't go to the answer, because if we don't really know what's driving that objection, we may not be able to answer the right part of that objection. So we've got to dig in and ask why that is a problem, and not just one layer of why. Often clients will give us the why, but it's the tip of the iceberg. The real reason is hidden. So we've got to dig a bit deeper. And after we get out a few of the reasons that this is a problem for them, we should always ask, is there anything else that you think is a concern? Don't hesitate to find out the concerns. Having done all of that, now we ask them to prioritize. Well, you've mentioned a number of things to me. Of these things, and then you list them, which one do you think is the sort of the biggest obstacle for you? Which would be the hardest thing for you to go forward with? And then that is the thing we answer, because now we know here's the iceberg underneath the waterline, and not every priority is exactly the same. Which is the number one priority? Having worked that out, then we answer that particular concern that they have. So first of all, don't have an emotional reaction and try and answer or force them to your way of thinking. Keep calm. Cushion. Cushion says, first thing I have to go to now is the why. Right? It breaks off going to that emotional reaction, answering straight away. I have to ask them why. Once you get into that why framework and that why structure of asking the reason behind the objection, then everything else will flow very normally, very naturally. So here's a very critical point. Don't say anything around the answer till you really know what you're answering. Get the why going first, and then, after you've done the cushion, get the why going, then we answer. And if we do that, we are going to do much better, and the client is going to have a great partner helping them to build their business.